Okay. Calling this meeting to order at 6:30. Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Kennedy,
Present.
Commissioner Lacey Oha,
Present.
Commissioner Haddon, Commissioner Alaquachi,
Present.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Present.
Vice Chair Williams,
Present.
and Chairperson Taylor. We have a quorum with Chairperson Taylor and Commissioner Haddon absent at roll call.
Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. We have the consent calendar. Oh, the Antioch Police Oversight Commission meeting minutes of June 16th, 2025. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Oh,
Second.
sorry, a motion and then I need a second. Yeah.
A second, yeah.
Okay, can you please cast your votes? All right.
Motion passes 5-0.
Awesome. Okay, on to new business. We have Police Chief V. Hill's report.
Good evening. So we'll start with the current staffing of the police department. Currently, we are sitting at 89. I just lost my train of thought. I apologize. Sorry. Currently, we're sitting at 89 working officers. 3 are on long-term injury leave, 1 is on military leave, and 1 is on administrative leave for a pending personnel matter. We have 10 officers in the field training program. We have 2 recruits in the Alco Police Academy set to graduate in September. We have 2 in the Contra Costa Academy set to graduate at the end of October, and 1 in the Alameda County Academy set to graduate at the end of the year. We have 2 processes happening later this month to fill vacant lieutenants and captains positions. Hopefully we will have a certified list by the end of the month and can move forward on filling long-time vacancies in the administrative division of the police department. If I could just pivot for a minute, I have sent a couple emails out about some upcoming training, and I'm hoping I sent it to the right email addresses because I haven't gotten any responses for some training and some conferences we'd like to send you all to. So if you didn't get it, follow up with me after the meeting, and I can resend the messages.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and next we have a presentation for hate crimes and data report for the year 2024.
Good evening, Commission. I have a few slides to show you that will kind of give you a brief overview of the hate crime definition in the state of California, as well as the associated penal codes, and then a quick brief with a few details on each of the hate crimes. We did have experience 5 in 2024. That was a 66% increase, unfortunately. As you can see in the crime trends year over year, we had an increase in pretty much everything last year. We went from 2 the year prior to 5 this year. And Chief Vigil is going to open up the presentation for me. And just so you guys know, I don't know, I think I've met most of you. My name is Bill Whitaker. I'm an acting lieutenant in charge of the Investigations Bureau. Currently, we're staffed with 9 detectives, 2 crime analysts, one full-time records, and 2 part-time records personnel. So the things we're going to go over, like I said, is the definition of what a hate crime, what categories fall under the hate crimes, the California Penal Code, the case summaries, then I'll answer any questions that you may have. So we'll start with the definition. California, a hate crime is defined as any criminal act motivated by the victim's actual or perceived race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, or disability. The crimes involve targeting individuals or the groups because of these specific characteristics, leading to harm, intimidation, or terror. So that is straight out of the California Penal Code, the definition of what qualifies for a hate crime. I'm not going to read this to you, but if you jot down 422.6, and if you want to read that at a later date, it's pretty intensive, as you can see. The best way to explain this, and I will put it in a layman's terms, is to qualify to arrest somebody for these crimes is like baking cookies. You have to have all of the ingredients or the cookie doesn't taste right. The same thing applies to the penal code, and specifically this penal code section. You have to have all of the elements of the crime to be able to arrest somebody and for that to be prosecuted. So 422.6, if you jot that down, I would highly suggest you guys read that. Probably word for word. It's actually fairly easy to follow along with, where some of the penal codes are not so easy. This one is pretty cut and dry. It basically will tell you that any crime committed in California, if it is targeted at a specific person, that was with the definition that we can file this as an added on charge on top of, say, vandalism or battery or assault with a deadly weapon. Okay, we're going to go over the case review. Of course, I made it a little small, so I can't read it as well. But case number 1, and these are in chronological order throughout 2024. Case 1 was a vandalism report at a local church. The investigation officer located a broken window of the church, which was the reason they were called. During their check of the church, they located vandalism on an outshed that had some derogatory hate speech on it, and they pulled a case. No suspects were identified in that case, and no additional evidence beside the photos and the glass and stuff on scene were located. Case 2 was at Antioch High School, at one of the high schools in Antioch. It was reported by the student who was the victim of the crime. The student was threatened and then was involved in a physical altercation off school grounds with several students. During the physical altercation, the student was called negative names regarding his sexual orientation. During this incident, an arrest was made. It was a juvenile case, but it was filed with the district attorney's office and prosecuted all the way through. Case 3 was a vandalism case at a privately owned residence in Antioch. During this report, the victim displayed a pride flag in his front of his house, which was taken down and lit on fire in the street. No video was located, no evidence besides the burnt items was located, and no suspects were identified. Case number 4 is the victim reported meeting somebody on a app. When they arrived to meet the person to engage in physical activity, they were approached by approximately 10 subjects. During that time, the subject was involved in a physical altercation where he was basically jumped by about 10 people. They stole his backpack. Luckily, he didn't have too bad of injuries, but during that incident, homophobic slurs were yelled at the victim. That one was also in an area that did not have video surveillance, and we were never able to establish any suspect leads. The last case was here at the marina. A subject and his significant other were at the marina just hanging out and were jumped by a group of individuals who began yelling homophobic slurs at the couple. The group then began to physically assault both subjects, but one subject in particular was beaten fairly badly. That immediately came up to the Investigations Bureau. We were able to identify multiple suspects, multiple arrests were made, and the case was filed. One of the subjects involved in this was also involved in a homicide in another city. So we got a bad person off of the street for very good reasons. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, it was a 66% increase in hate crimes, but you have to look at it with only 5 in a city this large is fairly low, as well as the increase in crime last year in general. Do you guys have any questions for me that I could answer? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, you said it went from 2 in the previous years to 5?
Correct.
Do you know what are some of the environmental factors, what actually contributed to that increase?
Well, I would say the overall crime rate was higher. So, I mean, it matches on trend with the overall crime rate. I would say I don't know exact environmental factors of why it was 2 this year versus 5. I can tell you the first one at the church was an officer going probably not above and beyond, but taking the extra time to check the entire area of the church, and the graffiti was found on a back shed. So I mean that's a factor, but I wouldn't necessarily say there's any specific reasons of why these all happened. These were just the documented cases where we were able to establish the 422.6 of the penal code, that hate crime crime on top of the other crimes.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, but also concerned that 80% of our hate crimes have been targeting the LGBT community. In case number 5, I know that in case number 2, you said that those were juveniles. I'm assuming that in case number 5, they were adults.
All of the involved were adults, yes, ma'am.
And are we seeing any other incidents targeting this particular community that don't necessarily rise to the full recipe for baking a cookie?
I would say no, and the reason being, well, you do have the unreported, so I can't speak on unreported crimes against the LGBT community. What I can tell you is that element is very simple to make. If somebody yells a derogatory slur regarding somebody's sexuality, that automatically qualifies as long as you can establish another crime, i.e. vandalism, battery, assault with a deadly weapon. So I would say minus it being underreported, I would say there's nothing that's lowering our numbers, because that's always a question that's asked is, what caused this, the what's, the whys, and hopefully we get to that as long as a victim discloses that.
And can you disclose in case number 1 what the hate speech was that was spray painted? Was it anti-Semitic? Was it something else?
It was anti-black, and it was the use of the N-word spray painted on a shed within the church property.
Thanks very much.
Any other questions?
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question, and you may not be able to disclose this now, but maybe at a later time, maybe through email, I don't know. But are you able to disclose what districts these hate crimes occurred in?
Yeah, that shouldn't be, that's a non-issue.
Okay.
They were very much spread apart. The church was in beat 4, and I just realized the districts and the beats are not aligned. So I can't tell you because I don't know I'm not a political guy, so I don't know the political districts. I could tell you the beats. Beat 4 was the church. And let me go back to the presentation real quick, and I can run you through where each one occurred at. Beat 2 was, or case number 2 is beat 1. Case number 3 was beat 4. Case number 4 was beat 6. Oh, sorry. Okay, general areas. Number 1 was along the Lone Tree, Putnam area. Number 2 was at a downtown high school. Number 3 was over near Sutter Delta Medical Hospital. Number 4 was down off of Country Hills and trying to think of the best cross street, Hillcrest at a park. And then number 5 was here at the marina, which is also beat 1. And you guys all know where the marina is, so
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. All right, thank you. Oh, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for the data. Commissioner Kennedy mentioned some stuff, and then just looking at this thing, it's a little disturbing that it seemed like 80% were targeting one group. Any, I don't know, possible prevention or warning or heads up to the public, maybe to avoid certain places or certain things?
Well,
I mean,
unfortunately,
I don't know. It's
as you
pretty
heard,
broad.
all of the incidents were kind of spread out. There was none in the same area, none by the same group. The prevention is to, if you see something, say something. If you see something that looks out of place, call, and that's for the citizens all across the board. But there's nothing preventative-wise that would
I mean, even a notice at
deter.
the marina or something, hey, don't hang out down here. or-
Complete isolated incident. I can tell you from when I've worked here and been in the investigations bureau, this is the only hate crime regarding that at the marina in the last 5 years that I'm aware of. So,
Okay. Yeah, just disturbing.
yes, very.
Just one other quick question. In looking at these, it appears that the bulk of them have been against men. Any against women?
No.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. There's no public comment, I'm assuming?
No public comments received.
Okay. Commission discussion and direction. Is there anything we need to discuss further on this? Commissioner Kennedy.
Actually, I do have one more quick question. I apologize. So we're at July 7th. Do we have any hate crimes that have been perpetrated of any type so far in 2025?
No, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
Well, I just wanted to also add, if it was possible to get a concurring report of hate crimes. If not,
It's a yearly snapshot, so we can do it every
Okay.
year.
okay,
Yeah.
yearly.
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause
And
I
this
was
is our
gonna-
baseline.
Mhm.
And so over the course of the next few meetings, you will have a presentation on all of the called out areas in the ordinance.
Mhm.
And that will be the baseline, and that's for the new members' knowledge, as well as the data baseline, and also for our consultant to have the baseline, so we can see where we're at year over year, and the trends. So you'll see those in assessments as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and if there's no more discussion or any direction, we can move on to the next agenda item, which is adopting the resolutions, confirming the roles, the responsibilities, and appointment of commissioners to the following approved ad hoc committees. Commission readiness, fiscal management, and public trust and engagement committees for 12 months. Do we have a staff presentation for the, no?
I
Okay.
believe that, I'm looking at our Assistant City Clerk here, we didn't say the actual names as each vote. I think we were talking about this last time,
Mhm.
that it had to be done a certain way.
Mhm.
And so I guess this is a do-over for
Redo,
you
okay.
all. I'm looking at the Clerk Garcia.
Mhm.
Thank you, City Manager Scott. Basically, what we're doing is, at the last meeting, there, the commissioners had volunteered to which ad hoc they wanted to be on, and this here is going to actually be adopted by resolution.
Mhm.
So you're going to just, it's 3 separate resolutions to adopt, which each one is going to name the ad hoc committee for 12 months, approving the role, responsibilities, and appointment that are attached to the staff report, and which commissioners are actually going to be members.
Okay.
So this way just It's
And-
for record keeping.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
She's gonna beat me up later. And so the roles and responsibilities, you can open for discussion, you can edit, revise, or add. You know what?
Okay, we'll start with the first one. So adopt a resolution approving the role, responsibilities, and appointment to approve commission readiness ad hoc, which we formerly called training committee for a term of 12 months with commissioners. I know that Elikwachi and Mitchell.
No
Okay.
public comments have been received for
Okay.
this item.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so everyone understands what the roles are with this training, or this commission readiness ad hoc, how it's structured, and did you guys want to?
And the standard
And the
roles and responsibilities are applied to all APOC ad hocs.
Okay.
And they're the last attachment here that our clerk put on your packet. So
Attachment B
I
to
think
the staff report.
conversation. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes.
So do we just go ahead and read those? Would you like me to read them out, or?
No, you're just going to approve
Okay.
them.
Oh, okay.
You
So-
read the, adopting the resolution.
Okay,
You're
so
approving that,
we're
so
gonna vote
everything is in
on,
there.
okay, approving Commissioners Kennedy, Mitchell, Commissioner Mitchell, and Elikwachi for the commission readiness ad hoc. Okay, and then just move on to the next one. Okay, so do we have to vote? Okay, let's get a vote.
Do you want to move? You need a motion in a second?
Sorry. Can I get a motion to adopt the resolution approving the role, responsibilities, and appointment to the approved commission readiness ad hoc committee for a term of 12 months with commissioners Elikwachi, Kennedy, and Mitchell as members? Right?
So moved.
And a second. Okay.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, we would like to adopt the resolution approving the role, responsibilities, and appointment to the approved fiscal management ad hoc committee for a term of 12 months with commissioners, I believe was Taylor, Haddon, and Mitchell. Okay, and Mitchell.
One hesitation with that is I don't believe that Haddon has been at any of the meetings since this occurred. Has anybody, we reached out to schedule a meeting and no response, so I don't know.
Okay.
I think she was volunteered at one of the meetings.
Right, I do remember that. I guess we'll just have to send her an email, maybe city manager and I can talk offline about that. Okay. So we'll just approve those 3 commissioners onto this one, and we'll try to get some word from Haddon.
Okay.
Okay. Can I have a motion? I will make a motion to adopt the resolution approving the role, responsibilities, and appointment to the approved fiscal management ad hoc committee for a term of 12 months with commissioners Mitchell, Taylor, and Haddon as members.
Say something petty.
Can I have a second, please?
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Yeah, one more member that needs to vote. Okay, there we are.
The vote passes 5-0.
Okay, moving on to adopt the resolution approving the roles and responsibilities and appointment to the approved Public Trust and Engagement Ad Hoc Committee for 12 months with Commissioners Kennedy, Lacey Oha, and Williams as members, excuse me. And that was a motion. I would like to make that motion. Can I have a second? Or Kennedy, Williams, and Lacey Ohan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
The motion passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda items.
Excuse me,
Yes.
can we have a couple questions about the standard responsibilities document, just to, I think, for sort of general clarification? As far as the whole SharePoint concept, will IT help us get that set up, or are we setting, our individual commissioners setting those up? How
I
is
haven't
that?
spoken to the IS director about this, so I'm not sure yet. So I'll have to get with him about it and see what the protocols are. I believe there is an internal facing SharePoint, but we don't usually have extra, so we'll figure it out.
Okay, and then as far as the updates that y'all want us to submit, I believe those need to be in by Wednesdays?
Is that updates for?
The submit written update prior to each full APOC meeting. So for example, like last week, it would seem that would have had to be submitted by Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think that's to the chair with each other, because you don't have, yeah, I don't, Chair Taylor is not here to answer what she has in mind for this.
Okay,
As far as my part in it, because you don't have dedicated staff, operationally, I don't have any purview over this. I can ask my IT director to support you as best I can.
Sure.
But I don't know what she envisioned.
okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check and
It's a
see
good
if there was
question.
something we needed to
Yeah.
do. So, and so if we're submitting this to the chair or the secretary is the clerk's office?
No. I think that might be a misstatement. So, because I think that the Chair Taylor would need to submit it as a part of the agenda packet. So, yeah, the logistics we can work out
Okay.
operationally, and we can talk about that.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'd like to add a little bit to the SharePoint discussion. I actually had some interaction with, I think her name is Ms. Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
and she helped me with some password issues and stuff. And then I was also asking if I could access our email through a laptop computer, and I haven't gotten an answer back on that. But she did say that SharePoint is part of a Microsoft account that belongs to the city, and that you have to approve access to that.
Okay.
So
I'll
if
talk
you
to
guys
my
talk,
staff.
yeah,
Yeah,
I talked a little bit about it.
I will talk to them, and I balance their bandwidth against our needs, so.
She said they were in the middle of a bunch of inventorying and
Mhm.
stuff right now, so,
Yeah.
but she was very nice.
Yes.
And said that you were the person.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 4.-3, discussion item, input on amendment to ordinance number 2212-C-S that created the Antioch Police Oversight Commission. So staff presentation? Okay, okay. All right.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and to talk to you about the police oversight and the ordinance that created it. If I can get the PowerPoint, okay, perfect. So the intent of the presentation tonight is to offer some background on the formation of the Antioch Police Oversight Commission, and then highlight some of staff's proposed amendments to the ordinance that created it. But I think most importantly, it is to request your input on anything that you guys see that we should potentially consider or the city council, I should say, should consider if they are going to make any amendments to this ordinance. So it's an opportunity for us to get feedback directly from you. But I do also want to highlight that only the city council has the authority to approve any changes to the ordinance. So anything that you provide us tonight will be put together in a presentation that goes before the council at a yet-to-be-determined date, and then they would have to approve that 3-2, or 4-1, or 5-0. So some background. In 2020, the City Council directed staff to research and recommend the establishment of a civilian oversight body for the Antioch Police Department. This led to the adoption of ordinance number 2212-C-S, which was adopted by council resolution in 2022. And then the first meeting of the Police Oversight Commission was actually held on March 18th of 2024. So the commission has been active for just over a year now. And I will go over the purpose, and this is directly from the ordinance. The purpose of the Police Commission is to advise the City Council, City Manager, and Chief of Police on the administration of the Antioch Police Department and on matters of public safety within the City of Antioch to ensure that the Antioch Police Department's policies, practices, and customs conform to national standards of constitutional policing. The Police Commission shall facilitate community participation and oversight by reviewing and recommending policies, procedures, practices, and programs designated to result in community policing that is effective, responsive, and sensitive to the diverse needs of the residents of the city. The Police Commission shall promote and encourage open communication and cooperation between the Antioch Police Department and the residents of the city, recognizing that policing the city of Antioch is a shared responsibility. And the Police Commission shall develop, review, and make policy recommendations aimed at informing the community of its rights and responsibilities when interacting with police officers. So I wanted to lay that framework of what specifically is in the ordinance and what the purpose of APOC is as we go through these changes. So I'll go through some of our thoughts and ideas and then open it up for questions, comments, suggestions from each of you. And the document that and I believe it should be attached, is the actual ordinance, and it is a 8-page document, ordinance number 22-C-S. And so the first area where we're making some proposed changes is going to be on section 4-3.103, which is titled Membership and Appointments. And so in the first paragraph, in subsection A, we're going to add, according to Municipal Code 2-5.201, that's just not in there, and that's the appropriate section to refer to, and that the chair, mayor, and city manager shall interview the applicants make a recommendation to the city council. So the Muni Code is the ordinance that spells out how people are selected for commissions. Doesn't matter which commission, it includes the APOC commission. But it doesn't really say how the mayor makes that selection. So we want to spell it out specific to, in this ordinance, that the chair of APOC, the city manager, and the mayor will do interviews, and then we'll bring the mayor's recommendation to the council for a vote on whether or not to appoint that person when there's a vacancy. And then, yep.
Do you want us to interject as you're talking or wait until the end?
Absolutely. I'm open to questions and feedback as I'm going.
In terms of a recommendation, if that's fine, add in there the deputy, or what is the name of it? What is the vice chairperson in the absence of the chair? Just
Okay.
Spell it out.
Yep, that makes sense. Great, thank you. And then another, it is very clear in the ordinance that a criminal conviction is not disqualifying for applicants, but there is nothing that talks about a background process. And I've reviewed several other cities. Some have no background process, others do have a background process. So we wanted to at least add this for some discussion. where we add a background process where applicants that are over the age of 18 must complete the same background checks and fingerprinting requirements as a city employee as a condition of appointment. This includes information from personal interviews, social media reviews, which will be considered during the selection process. Once appointed, members will be sworn in by the city clerk or an authorized member of the clerk's office. So we wanted to add that language and have some discussion on whether or not a background check would be appropriate for consideration before the mayor makes a recommendation. I don't know if there's any comments, thoughts, or anything on that.
When you, excuse me. So when we talk about backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
what exactly, to what extent would we be looking at those? I think, and I'm contemplating this in part from a cost perspective, because fingerprinting, there's a cost attached. Background check, if it's a background check that you would put a city employee through, there's potential cost that is attached to that. So to what extent are we talking about this? And is this just for the Oversight Commission, or is this going to be for all boards and commissions?
Yeah, great question. So at this point, it is for just this commission. Now, this may be a model. This may be a model that if you decide to adopt would be, that the council could consider. One, if they approved it, they may say, well, we want this for our other commissions as well. Two, obviously, we want to keep costs at a minimum. There would be the standard federal and state fingerprint cost, which is less than $100. That information comes back to our Human Resources Department. And then there would be some reference checks as well as social media review. So those would be kind of, I would say, the three components of the background check. We're not talking a background check like we would do for a police officer, where we hire an outside background investigator who digs into almost every aspect of your life. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much. And then if I read this correctly, or maybe I've jumped ahead, that we're contemplating allowing sworn officers and or their spouse to serve?
So we are jumping ahead just a little bit.
Sorry.
I'm getting to that part next. So on that note, yes.
I'm
yes, ma'am.
sorry. So it's not here, but I just have a question. For the commissioners who are currently serving, there will be no further background check, right?
So it's my understanding that there was no background check for the current commissioners, and
Right.
we are not making a recommendation
Okay.
for a background check on current commissioners. This would be
Okay.
on future appointments.
Okay.
It's not retroactive.
Okay, so for example, in the future, for those commissioners who are appointed, once the background check has been completed and once they are serving within the 2 years, is there a possibility that a background check a second background check will be done to make sure that they are being held at a higher standard? They're holding, working, at a higher standard,
Sure.
and I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I just want to know, because some jobs, and I know this for a fact, while you're in the job, they will go back and do another background check to see if there are, for example, any arrests or anything like that. And I know for a fact that some people, while they were working, they were terminated based on what came up on the background check.
Yes. So I wouldn't say that there would be an ongoing or additional background check, but I would say that the California Department of Justice, once you're a city employee, does allow you to register as a city employee. And if you are arrested, then and your fingerprints are ran for the arrest, it automatically notifies the employing agency. So as long as California Department of Justice allows that for commissions, it would be our intent that that would be on there. So any commissioner, during their appointment as a commissioner, if they were arrested, then the City of Antioch Human Resources Department would be alerted to that arrest. And I want to make clear, too, this is very confidential information, so this information isn't going to come to this body for making decisions on anything like that. But it would be for staff and the city manager and the city attorney to be aware of it should information need to be further looked into.
Thank you.
Yep.
What's the turnaround time for the background investigations? Because sometimes they can take a while.
Yeah, I would say the turnaround time, and again, this is somewhat dependent on DOJ, but usually within 2 to 3 weeks, we would get the results back. Any other questions on the background
Just,
process?
so in other words, coming back to Commissioner Lacey-Oha's question, this would be prospective, not retroactive, essentially. And to use an example of what you made reference to for, say, a city employee that's been fingerprinted, if you have an employee, for example, that's arrested for a DUI, that is not necessarily grounds for dismissal, but if driving is part of their responsibility, there may be a temporary demotion, or there may be some sort of temporary action based on whatever discipline may have been meted out as a result of that arrest. So I just trying to kind of clarify the fact that this is not necessarily some giant hammer, but that there would be certain circumstances where someone might be, hey, by the way, this happened, we should talk. Is that sort of a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment, but we may not even need to talk in certain
Got it.
situations. If it has nothing to do with your job or the application of what you're doing, the city would get notified, okay, great, and no further action is taken.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I had a Commissioner, I was watching.
What about citizenship status? Does that matter? Can you serve?
I don't know if I know the answer to that. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can ask the question.
Yeah, on a standard job application, I don't know that you can ask the question anyway. Yeah,
I was just wondering about
yeah.
that.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, so I was wondering, what is the age limit, or you have to be 18 to be on this commission? Because I was approached by a youth that had some curiosity to be on this commission. Maybe if that's not an option now, maybe we can recommend that we allow, maybe high school students, juniors or seniors, to be on the commission, as they have a perspective too in the community.
Yeah, so there is no age requirement anywhere
Requirement.
listed on the ordinance, so I don't think that at this point that there is a requirement. Now, obviously, a 6-year-old may be a little young, but perhaps that's something we could
Yeah,
look
and I
at.
think also it depends on the need. These are heavy topics. And so, for instance, if the community engagement committee needed a youth perspective, it would be more appropriate to ask a youth under that ad hoc. And so I don't have, I wouldn't recommend youth under 18 or even 21 sitting on this commission.
Thank you.
I read in the ordinance that it says a high school on there, so that's in the
It
actual
does,
ordinance.
yes, yeah.
Yes, I was
As
going
a
to add
recommended,
that.
yes.
As a recommendation.
That in the prior applications, I believe, one of the applicants should have been from the Antioch School District.
Employer,
I'm-
student, yes.
Yes, and I was trying to remember whether it meant an administrator or a student.
Yeah.
So that's something, yes, so that's something we probably really want to look into.
Thank you.
And I will add that for some clarification when we do present this.
Okay, I think,
Moving.
Commissioner Alaguachi, your mic's on.
Sorry.
Okay, I think we're good to move forward.
Moving on, okay. So now we are, make sure I'm staying organized here. So, and this is kind of to the point of what we just talked about relative to who is on the commission. We wanted to clarify this language a little bit. So in subsection, it's 4.3, or 4-3.103, subsection C. Currently, it just says the mayor and city council shall strive to appoint and confirm at least. That's what it currently says. And And we're looking at changing that language. The mayor and city council shall strive to appoint and confirm members to the commission with the intent of ensuring meaningful representation from individuals with diverse backgrounds and perspectives, while not required to include representation from each category listed below, and recognizing that some individuals may reflect more than one category. The following are important factors to consider when making appointments. Because I think there is a little confusion on how this is read. Some people will read it and say, no, it has to be one of these, and other people, it doesn't necessarily have to be one of those, or certain people may fit different characteristics. So that was our intent, is to just get a little bit clearer language there and explain really what the purpose of that is. And then to go a little bit further, there are three, I'll pause there just on that C paragraph if there's any comments, concerns, and just expanding that.
So going back to my question.
I think your question
I'm
was in
still ahead,
subsection E.
I'm still too far ahead, aren't I?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to eliminate
I can go to that
A,
one.
B, C. Are we eliminating the one representative from each of the 4 voting districts?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
So all the
Sorry.
subsections in C, and there's 4 of them, our intent is to leave those the same.
So for D, under C, it says one employee or student of Antioch Unified School District. You're going to get clarification on that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yep. So then we'll move on then to E. And E says, the following shall not be eligible to serve as a police commissioner. And so our thoughts is, one, if you look at subsection A, it says current sworn police officer or his or her spouse. Now, our position is that somebody who is a current police officer or the spouse of a police officer may have some unique insight and be a valuable person to serve on this commission. So our thought would be that we would eliminate that requirement. However, we are leaving B, and B is current city employees, which includes a current police officer. So our intent would still be that a current Antioch police officer could not serve on the commission. But let's say a resident who lives in the city who happens to be a police officer in San Jose or in Fairfield or someone, or a spouse, they have experience, they could potentially, they would not be disqualified just because they were a police officer or the spouse of a police officer. And then C, a former department sworn employee or his or her spouse. So again, someone who lives in the city, who used to be a police officer for Antioch or the spouse of a former Antioch police officer could potentially serve on the commission. And then the last one for me, I guess, was just a little bit confusing on the wording of it. So a current or former employee, I think we're kind of clarifying that. No current, at least police employee, official or representative from an employee association representing sworn police officers. So there may be an applicant who is a police officer in another city, and they are part of their union. They're the president, vice president, or something like that. The way it's written right now, they would be excluded from serving on the commission. So those were our thoughts, that just because you're in the profession doesn't mean that your opinion is not valued, that we don't want broad perspective. So I'm open to feedback, thoughts, suggestions on wording in this section.
I'm kind of curious about the current sworn police officer of his spouse, his or her spouse. It could not be in Antioch, is what you're saying.
Yes, a current city employee under subsection B would eliminate any sworn police officer that currently works as a police officer in the city of Antioch or his or her spouse.
Okay.
So you would not have a current police officer for the city of Antioch on the commission. Now, if they retired or left the department or something like that,
That's different.
then it would be different. Yes, ma'am.
and if we were looking at item D, if they were a current employee, that would cover the aspect of them being part of the APOA, correct?
Yeah, but I would also, the way this is written, it doesn't have to be an employee of the police department. So it could be an employee in the Public Works Department. As written, any current or former employee for the city, no matter where they work.
Right, I was just trying to look at it from the standpoint of any concern somebody might have with with an individual currently serving as an officer or somebody representing the APOA. Going back to the current city employee and/or their spouse, that would cover that aspect.
Yes, I am not, in order to be represented, you would have to be a city employee.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, suggestions on this one?
The one thing I think we all need to continue to kind of remain focused on is however this comes back, the key word in all of this is that the city council, the mayor and city council shall strive to appoint and confirm. And so we have a variety of categories that folks would fit into. They may be an employee or a student in the school district, they may not. They may be a representative of the business community. We have a whole portfolio of options here that we're going to strive to meet, while at the same time striving to appoint whoever the mayor, the council, and those participating in the interview process think are the best qualified people to serve.
I think that's a very fair assessment, absolutely. And it depends on the number of applicants as well.
So just so I'm understanding clearly, so what would be in E, section E?
What would be left in section E? Basically, it would be current city employees or his or her spouse. If there's other things that you think should be added in there, I'm happy to entertain suggestions.
I'm a little leery about, so wait a minute. So you're saying current sworn police officers can be on the commission? If we delete?
As long as they don't work for the city of Antioch as a police officer, yes. So a Richmond police officer who lives in the city of Antioch could serve on the commission. They're a current police officer, but just not in the city of Antioch.
I have some reservations to that. I'm gonna see that as a conflict of interest.
Okay, yeah, I'm here for feedback.
Yeah.
How do you perceive it as a conflict?
There's some self-interest in that. And,
Microphone.
will the citizens, I'm sorry, will the citizens necessarily trust the integrity of the commission with that representation present? That may be problematic, and like you said, they would lend or bring an amazing amount of experience, and they would be educational for us on the commission to have them here. So we would grow and learn from them. But the citizens, from the perspective of the citizen, the optics are bad. So I wouldn't trust it. As soon as you put it out and say that the person is a current police officer, I can imagine.
Okay, yeah, thank you for your perspective. We'll bring that up. All right. So we will move on to point 104, terms of office and removal from office. So in subsection D, we want to add that the city manager, mayor, or any member of the city council has the authority to make the recommendation. Only the council has the authority to remove, but we just want to have it a little bit clearer that the city manager, mayor, or any member of the council can make a recommendation to remove a commissioner.
Well, I believe that, in my opinion, I believe this is okay, in my opinion. I just believe that we as a commission should not have any involvement with the removal from office. I mean, we can discuss it, but however, when it comes to making a recommendation, that really should be left up to the city council and the mayor. I don't know how anybody else, how they feel about it, but I go along with this.
Yeah, and I will say, nothing in this is taking away any of the, this is just adding. So we're going to keep, our intent is to keep the language in D, we're just adding to it. But I think we do recognize that not every commissioner is going to want to do that.
Yeah, I understand. I think what you're saying, Commissioner Lacey Oha, I think it is okay if a member of this commission wants to move for removal or suggest removal in conversation and a vote of your commission. So for instance, if somebody has excessive absences, if those absences are impacting your ad hocs and ability to move the work forward, only you know that as the subject matter experts on this commission. And so me as a city manager and the police chief as well as our mayor, we're relying on you all to serve in excellence and to move the work of this commission forward. So you would be probably ground zero for recommending a removal, yeah.
But I have a question. When we have a discussion in regards to removal from office, should that be done in our regular meeting or special call meeting?
Yeah, I believe that, at the end of your meetings, when you go to future agenda items, you can move to add an item for the removal of a commissioner. It would be added to the next agenda and you would have a discussion and a vote on it. And then it would be moved to the city council and the same would happen there.
Good question. Yeah, I think so thank you. Yeah.
And then section D, small subsection D, I guess it is. I want to make sure that's right. But adding a rules of decorum and conduct policy. And I also created a draft rules of decorum and conduct policy that was attached for your review as well. So I don't know if did you have a chance to review that? So at this point, we will transition to that document and see if there's any comments, thoughts, feedback on it. I will say, one, the municipal code does give the authority to each commission, regardless of which commission it is, to adopt their own informal rules. So I think this would apply to that. But as I mentioned with one of the things earlier, this could also potentially, you could adopt this policy for this commission, and it may serve as a great tool for the council to consider adopting something similar for all the commissions. So with that, any thoughts, comments, questions on the document?
Why, yes. So one of the things that I noticed, if we look at 1.4, which is the purpose and scope, one of the things that I think we might want to contemplate is that if we go back to the ordinance itself, we have the fact that we want to hold at least 2 meetings of the police commission each year at locations outside of City Hall. And then the other, one of the other proposed changes, I believe, to the ordinance is to meet at least once a month as opposed to twice a month, which I think there could be some good, solid reasoning behind that. One of the things we might want to contemplate is rather if we were to move to 1 meeting a month, replacing holding meetings, hosting a meeting or holding a meeting in another location other than City Hall, it may be better to replace that with hosting some sort of public forum twice a year, which would be a little less formal than a meeting to begin with and might provide people with a little more motivation to attend if they felt like it was an opportunity to really, truly, share their thoughts and what was important to them. So that was one thought. One of the other things that occurred to me was, we were talking about in 2.7, attendance and unexcused absences. And so we talked about excused absences and unexcused absences, and that if you have 3 or more excused absences, this happens, and if you have 3 or more unexcused absences, something else happens. And my question is, what if you have 2 excused absences and an unexcused absences? Do you have to reach that total threshold of 6, or is it any combination thereof?
For your first point, are you saying that you want to add under general provisions the meetings?
Sorry?
I was trying to understand in terms of the public forum, you would like us to state in the ordinance are a public forum instead of a public meeting? Is that what you want to change? Because when we're talking about the rules of decorum and conduct policy, these are just general provisions in 1.4, the purpose. So we don't have to add that specificity here, but we could add some change to include the option of a public forum in the actual ordinance in one of those meeting configurations for the 2 public meetings a year.
Yeah, so I believe that the current ordinance as written gives you the opportunity to hold
the
public
public forum,
forums. I think our intent and nothing is to say you can't hold 2 meetings a month if that's what you want to do. What our intent was, we recognize this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work for each one of you, and there's ad hoc committees that you are meeting as well. So we wanted to give you the flexibility to only be required statutorily to do 1 meeting a month. And then you can do public forum, plus your ad hoc work, that kind of stuff. And I think it's going to be defined well enough in this ordinance that I don't know that we need further specificity on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think that for me, when I read that we now sort of have added this hosting public forums specifically, where it's not necessarily listed specifically elsewhere, part of this is looking at the perspective and the perception of the public, right? And
Yeah, oh, I was going to say, as commissioners, you don't need to have it written. If you want to hold a public forum, you can do it outside of all of this formality
right,
and parameters. So I would just have your community engagement ad hoc
okay.
do what you want to do, and you can use the PIO to help you.
I guess for me, I'm just kind of trying to make sure that we've got good clarity with our language and folks' perception as to what, for example, we are going to do as the commission versus what we're going to be working with the police department to host with our support and with our, assistance in whatever way that might be appropriate. So that was just the one thing that I had thought about. It's not a deal breaker, but I did wonder about the absences and whether or not it would be a combination.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I do think we need clarification. Obviously, 3 unexcused over a rolling 12-month period, but and then excused ones would could potentially cause issues as well, because we need people to be available. So I'll have to do. We can have some discussions, but I would say excused or unexcused, 3 to 4 absences in a rolling 12-month period may need to be some reconsideration on whether or not a person has the time and ability to serve on such an important commission.
Yeah, and the second point can be changed to excused or unexcused. So, yeah, I think that was actually supposed to be unexcused, but the point is taken, it should be both.
Yeah.
That's a quarter of the year, and that's too many to be missing, whether it's excused or unexcused.
Also,
Commissioner Aguachi.
I forgot my point. Oh, adding school. Some people are in school, they're working and in school, so if they have to miss for school, I noticed that was not in there.
Oh, is it excused?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that is hard, because if you're in I have 2 masters, so if that's a commitment, then it will be hard to to maintain both. So that should be a conversation in general, because it's almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
So it would be maybe a suspension and maybe having a proxy commissioner or a standby for that person's spot, so.
So maybe not even added is what you're saying?
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Commissioner Lacey.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that when we became commissioners, we should have already been aware of what our schedules were, because I know I did. And I am right now in the middle of school, and there was a class that was going to be held on Monday, and I started that class, but when I was appointed as commissioner last year, I dropped that class because I felt this was more important than that class. I'm going to have to make it up at a later time. But my point is, we have been appointed to a very important commission. And I believe that unless there is a family emergency, or if we are sick ourselves, we really should do our best to attend all meetings, most meetings. I was out of the state, so I couldn't be here at the last meeting, but I did let our vice chair and our chairperson know that I could not be here. But I think once a person knows that they can do whatever they want, they just take advantage of it. And so at some point in time, we have to draw the line. We really do, yeah.
And I also want to say, a meeting once a month, I think it's once a month that you're recommending. I like that idea because it gives us some flexibility, because we can meet twice if we want to, but it's not static.
Yes, and you also have your ad hocs, which are really busy, so
Yeah,
just want to give you the balance.
so I appreciate that.
Yeah. And all we're doing is proposing, because right now the ordinance actually requires 2 meetings a month with the exception of July and December. We're proposing changing it to requiring 1, but nothing is precluding you from doing 2 if you still want to do 2. It just statutorily, you're only required to do the 1, recognizing that you may want to do some public forums, recognizing the work you're doing on the ad hoc commission, or on the ad hoc groups and that kind of stuff. You're very busy.
Yeah. And I know proxies came up, alternates maybe, somewhere can be discussed. Because we do have folks who can't make it all the time, but as to Commissioner Lacey Oha's point, I think it is their responsibility to be here when they should be. But has that been discussed at all with council, like having a proxy or an alternate?
If you would like us to suggest it, we will just add the language because,
Yeah, it has not. We can definitely do it. I know in this city, council does have alternates. Those are elected positions. They're not appointed positions, which is a little bit different. My concern would be that if you had alternates, it kind of gives the impression that you may not have the time to serve on the commission in the first
Right.
place.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so that was my second point. Okay.
yeah.
and it wouldn't be, and unless you did know one alternate for the entire, it wouldn't be everyone gets an alternate. That would just be too much. But
Right. Thank you.
The other thing that I think that's important to note when it comes to the alternates that the city council has, that is something that's provided for in state law that allows them to have somebody that steps into their seat in the event of like death and for continuity of government during some sort of like
Natural.
disaster or emergency, not just that they're not going to attend a meeting. You're not going to see somebody sitting there. It's just under a particular circumstance, and it's provided by state law. But I would also agree with Commissioner Elagawachi. I think that if we look realistically, the ordinance as it's written right now, yes, says that we won't have two meetings in July or in December. However, in January and in February, because we meet on the third Monday of every month, there were 2 meetings that were not held in January and February because of MLK Day and because of President's Day. So essentially, you've only got, 7, 8 out of 12 months that you're holding 2 meetings anyway? So I do think that there could be something to be said for shifting that ordinance to meeting at least once a month. If there was the feeling there needed to be a special meeting added, that could be done. But it would provide the opportunity for commission members to potentially use that extra Monday for ad hoc meetings because it's already sort of built into people's schedule. So I think that was on board with that 100%.
Any other suggestions on the draft rules of decorum and conduct policy?
Yeah, I do.
Yes,
have
sir.
A comment on the absent subject again. If we do move to one meeting per month, I think it'd probably be best to kind of combine the two, excused and unexcused, because they seem like they're, you know, two of one, one of another, and so forth. It should just be if you miss 3 meetings, because that's a quarter of the meetings out of the year. That's a lot. I'm gonna have to give up my Niner tickets.
But we're still good with doing a rolling 12-month, or do you want it a calendar year?
I just think a calendar year, 3 is,
Is simpler,
yeah.
so instead of a rolling 12-month, a calendar year.
Maybe even
3
reduce it to
unexcused.
2.
Sorry,
Or so, maybe reduce it to 2,
to 2 absences.
yeah.
So 2 absences in a
unexcused.
calendar year, whether it's excused or unexcused. That's all you get.
Either or, I say either or.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just change the language to just the absences, whether they're excused or unexcused. You gotta be here.
'Cause we
I
do have
think we
busy
better,
lives.
I think we better maybe think about that a little bit more. So, in my opinion, I say unexcused absence. Yeah, unexcused, if, you know, and we all know what unexcused is, so.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, because, you know, I do travel a lot for work, and I do have lots of things going. I would hate to miss a meeting because I've had a conflict with work. That was, yeah, so,
Yeah, I see it as a couple options here. One, we could go down to 2 and call, or we could just stick to 3 and say, it doesn't matter if it's excused or unexcused, you get 3 absences a calendar year, and that's it.
mhm. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so we're back up to 3, doesn't matter if they're excused or unexcused.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go with that.
Anything else that we're good on the rules of decorum? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Quickly, now that we're leaving the first and third from the language, right? We're taking that out of the language, we're just saying we're meeting once a month. Now, in terms of noticing the public, in determining the calendar, do we have to determine when we're gonna be meeting? Are we gonna be meeting? Because now the calendar is changing now.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, either the first Monday or the third Monday, whatever.
Same. Gotcha. Just taking off one meeting.
Mhm.
And then obviously, with July, the language on July and December is moot if we go to 1, so that we would just delete that language as well.
Okay, that makes sense.
That'd be 1 meeting,
Thank
so.
you.
Yep. So any other questions on the deleting the 1, going to minimum once a month? Okay. So on the budget, include a sentence that the funding will be incorporated into the city manager's budget with the specific allocation amount determined each budget cycle. So I believe in the budget that was recently adopted, the council did already put this in the city manager's budget. So this would just align the ordinance with the current practice now. And then the specific dollar amount would be subject to allocation by the council every budget cycle.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Training, 4-3109. So add a requirement that each commissioner complete a police ride-along within the first 30 days of appointment and participate in at least 2 ride-alongs annually. Additionally, commissioners must complete the use of force simulator training within 90 days of appointment and annually thereafter. Commissioners are also required to complete all training outlined in the APOC training plan, which is a plan that we're required per the memorandum of agreement to put together in consultation with our monitor. And then add a requirement that all training requests requiring city funding, this would be going to some of the conferences and stuff, must be pre-authorized by the city manager. So those are our added suggestions to training.
I'd like to add, in terms of a sit-along with dispatch within
Yes.
90 days.
Yep. And do you want that to be an annual as well, or just a one-time in the first 90
One time is
days?
sufficient.
What's that?
One time.
One time is sufficient,
yeah.
okay.
For the 30 days for a ride-along with PD, that, depending upon what your staffing is and what's going on, that's kind of pressure, a little bit of pressure, so maybe within 60 days? I mean, is that,
The good thing is we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't get any holidays off or anything, so, but yes, we can change it to 60 if you'd like.
only because you want to be there when the action is on the ship, you know?
Sometimes that's hard to predict.
Yes, I do.
And as far as the simulator goes, I'm sorry, Commissioner Kennedy. You had, okay. The use of force simulator, where's that located? That's at APD.
Yes.
Okay, and everyone has been assigned to do that.
I think that may be one of the ones that Chief Vigil has sent some emails
Okay.
getting,
Yeah.
wanting to get everyone scheduled for that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry?
I said we've got some good stuff planned, trips on account and all this stuff, so
Oh,
answer email.
got it. Thank you.
Just don't let it be within the next couple.
We can move forward if you're ready.
Yep. Powers and duties, I just, there are 6 policy sections, which I think are clearly outlined. And we're not recommending changing these, but I will go over them. First Amendment assemblies, so these are the power and authority over the policies that you guys have. I should say the power and duties. Any of our policies that cover First Amendment assemblies, any of our policies that cover use of force, any policy that covers deployment of canines, any policy that covers de-escalation techniques involving civilians, our response to hate crime policies, and the policies that are bias-based policing, including profiling based on any protected characteristics as defined by federal, state, or local law. So we're not recommending changing any of that, but we are adding some clarity to it. Work with the city attorney to clarify the process for recommending changes. And I think this is where it got a little, maybe a little confusing. So relative to these policies, if the police department makes a recommendation for a change, the APOC reviews it, go back and forth on maybe some language, and both APOC and the police department are in agreement that the changes need to be made, it doesn't need to go to the city council. We have agreement from APOC, we have agreement from the police chief to change the policy. The chief can implement that new policy. The only time there would be the need to go to council would be if the police or APOC want to recommend some changes and one of the two sides don't agree on the language, then it would be presented to the city council for the final determination on what that language would be. Now, nothing in this would preclude the council from going directly to the police department if there's a policy language that they think should be changed. But I don't see any reason to go to council if APOC and the police department are in agreement on a policy. Now, policies that fall outside of these 6 characteristics, you guys can definitely agree. If APOC doesn't agree, all the chief has to do is give a report to APOC saying the reasons that they don't agree. So we're not recommending that change at all. So hopefully that makes sense. Do you have any questions on that or comments?
I'd like to go back to the training piece of it.
Yes, ma'am.
The training binders. Within, within 30 days of being appointed, if that could be added to it.
Okay, any other questions? We can move forward.
So I just wanted to get a clarification regarding the training. Right along, we're gonna change that, right? Because I did hear you mention that maybe 30 days was just a little bit too soon? Did we agree to
60 days.
Okay,
That-
that's
yeah.
what I thought.
Ultimately, it's the council's decision, but
Oh, okay.
we will go and say within the first 60 days, yes. All right. And then discussion of the requirement for APOC to review the proposed budget and conduct at least one public hearing. We have a very robust budget process for the city. I think we had 15-plus meetings over the past 6 months just to get through the budget cycle. There is a requirement in here that this body review the budget and also make recommendations to the council. So being that there's already such a robust process, one of the thoughts is eliminating that as a requirement for APOC, since ultimately it's the council with input from the city manager and the finance director. So I wanted to have some discussion about whether or not this group felt that they still wanted a review process of any proposed budgets. And this is the overall budget for the police department, which is a
Yeah. Would that go to the ad hoc, the fiscal ad hoc? Or would that be something that the 7 of us decide on?
well, you have to have at least one public hearing, this
Mhm.
group
Oh,
does,
yeah.
on,
Okay.
on relative to the budget that is ultimately approved by council. So, and anybody that would want to come to that public meeting could come to the city council's workshops that they have on the budget.
Yeah,
So
I
it
think
just
so,
seemed
too.
like we're duplicating efforts, it seemed like.
Right.
And that's one less responsibility that you have responsibility over. So.
Comment on? So we do have a committee ad hoc, and we haven't met formally yet due to some illnesses and organizing ourselves. But just some thoughts that I've had about the function of that committee would be to figure out if there's a way to monitor expenditures as they're happening during the year, and be able to report out on progress or non-progress on certain projects or what have you, so to better define that.
And so one of the things about, and I think the comment about duplication is well taken, because we do have regular report outs that are going to be happening with the police chief and myself to the city council. I thought I turned it on, sorry. So it's an administrative lift to have all of that. So I'm just trying to figure out how do we do that without duplicating. So because I know our chief gave a full budget report and then came here and gave a full, but it just takes a lot of time. So trying to figure out how we can streamline it, if that's something that the budget ad hoc can come to the designated city council meeting and then report back to the commission about the budget, because all that's being tracked there in real time and will be recorded. So just food for thought.
To add to that, those were some things that I didn't want to create extra work. So if we can synchronize with things that are already happening, that it would make a lot of sense. And then if we had any ideas or suggestions, we could bring it to the commission and back to the police department.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds great.
I think it's perfectly appropriate to remove this requirement. I think there's a redundancy to it. I also think that what I think several of us noticed when we had the presentation here is that there's terminology and phraseology that the finance director uses that is not necessarily the same terminology that the department uses, and that without the finance director here for that presentation, there's questions that may or may not be answered, which is not necessarily fair to the individual doing that presentation. And I think that given the number of potential study sessions that either the budget subcommittee or members of the commission themselves can either attend the one that's focused on the police department and or watch it online, obtain the information that's needed. And if members of the public also have a specific interest in that, that is the best opportunity for them also.
All right. Any other questions?
And then the additions, the city council would have the authority to temporarily pause APOC. Such action may only be approved by a majority vote of the city council and will be based on factors including, but not limited to, the commission's effectiveness, compliance with legal obligations, budget constraints, or shifts in city priorities. The temporary suspension cannot exceed 3 months within a rolling 12-month period. And then APOC does not have the authority to pause without city council authorization. So that would be something that's not in here right now. That would be added to it. So thoughts, comments, suggestions on this one?
Oh, any questions, commissioners? Suggestions? Should we keep this? Suggest to keep it, or?
I know this was an issue that had come up at a point where the commission was literally bare bones from a membership standpoint. It was a very contentious conversation. I think it's fine to put it in. In case it's needed. I do think that it has the potential to be an addition that would create quite a bit of consternation among the members of the public. So I just would keep that in mind. And whether or not having it there, just in case it's needed, is worth the disruption that it might create.
Well, the issue that I would have is how it's done. I don't want to go back, but if this is going to be added, we need to be informed first. And we need to be given a reason, the purpose behind placing APOC on pause. So if we're going to add this, I ask that we include that APOC be informed, that a discussion be made first before a final decision is made by the city council.
In addition to the required notices that would have to go out for any publicly noticed meeting, it would have to be in there as an agenda item, and that is 72 hours in advance. So you want this commission to be noticed more in advance of that 72 hours?
Yes,
Okay.
and we don't want to find out the day of, or
Right.
72.
72 hours before?
Yes.
Okay.
We need to have more advance notice, because the last time it happened, it took us off, well, it took me off guard. I was off, I didn't expect that. And I didn't like that. So,
Yep, that's fair. We can work on some language that suggests that.
Points, thank you. I think, and I remember when that was happening, there was a lot of confusion, and I think the public wasn't thrilled with it either. And I think if there was some language that maybe there would be more specific things that would trigger that event to be explained, or like what type of triggers there would be to pause the commission. I think that would help in that instance. If for whatever reason, a lack of commissioners, or I think that was one of the main reasons in the last one. But I think if there were some real clarity to what will trigger a pause, then it'll be easier to deal with amongst the commission and the public. So I think if we can come up with some specific things, doesn't have to be a million things, but just I think it's important.
Do you think the things that we've come up, we can't predict every potential one, so that's why we've kind of come up with some language included but not limited to.
It just seems broad.
Too broad?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the budget constraints, that's always. So I would say remove that. Budget constraints, because we know what the city is dealing with and will be dealing with for some time to come. So that's not really a fair reason
I
to.
think because it gets to staffing, like IS support, staff support, it's a big, like, budget it impacts operations. So we can say operational constraints, which includes budget constraints, but there needs to be a placeholder for when that, those considerations need to be made.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm not gonna be very popular by saying it, but, there's an expectation that in all of our jobs, that we do the work that we come here to do, right? And, it's not the citizens' problem that the city has these constraints placed on them. And if citizens want to have some oversight, then they have to be committed to it and make sure that it occurs. Now, I understand pausing it for certain serious reasons, but let's say you have positions that have not been hired, but you have the funding there to hire them, and you just haven't gotten around to it because you don't have sufficient staffing. Think outside of the box, So I just don't want it to be where you can willy-nilly kind of stop a process because of maybe staffing. Because these things are always there, or budget. We know that budget is always going to be an issue for city governments. It has to be a reason that makes sense. Not an existing issue that's.
Agreed, and I would remind everybody that this is not something the city council could do in private. This would be in a public forum with public comment, with discussion, and would require a vote of a minimum 3-2 in order to do it. So it's not something that they can just, we're gonna put a pause on it. No, it would have to be an agendized item that comes to a city council meeting with the factors to be considered and publicly discussed. Does that make sense?
It does. So let's say in terms of the budget, not something that is existing that we know that's ongoing. It has to be something that cropped up, like we've had COVID come out of the blue, or something massive.
And we're talking about like catastrophic operational
Gotcha.
constraints.
Yeah.
So it's not just willy-nilly, like, it's, it's bigger than that, but so we're not saying, so if there's no IT department, I hear you saying you meet in the park and do this anyway, which we love you for that. But the truth is that there could be things that happen that prevent us from holding a meeting, for instance, for a significant amount of time or a set amount of time.
Maybe you could add a little more descriptive to the budget language in there, like, as you said, catastrophic situation, something like that.
Oh, oh yeah. I'm being asked to remind our city manager to keep your mic on. Yeah. Oh, no, that's fine. I just had something that shifts in city priorities. What would some of those look like? Just kind of up in the air. We do have the MOU with the DOJ, so I know that that's kind of a reason to not pause the commission. But I'm just thinking, what shifts in city priorities? Like, when does this not become a priority?
Yeah, and I do agree with Commissioner Mitchell. I mean, this is kind of broad language because I do think it's going to be almost impossible to try and predict every potential scenario that could come up with it. And so I think that's why we kind of stuck with some broad. So we can seek to clarify that before it goes to council.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then also, I think we really need to remember that if we have less than, I believe, 5 commissioners here in the diocese, if we have less than that, then of course we can't go forward.
Less than 4, yeah. Yes.
Yes, less than 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the last time, we had more than 4. And the attempt was to put the commission on pause. So this is why I think I agree with Commissioner Mitchell. This is too broad. And we need to probably include, unless there is less than 4, the commission should not be temporarily put on pause unless there are reasonable factors. This is just my way of thinking.
Thank you. Okay, I think we can move on. Yeah.
And then, I think that concluded my presentation. If there's any other additions, suggestions, or anything else that you think should be considered to changing this ordinance to make sure that we have a purposeful and effective commission, I'm all ears.
All right, thank you, Consultant Addington.
I've got one more actually on our last subject.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Is there a way, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but that the commission could respond to a potential pause? In other words, a way to go in front of city council or report out to city council, at least to give our point of view if there's a potential pause on the horizon and say, hey, these are our concerns.
Yeah, I think we can have a response.
City Manager, your mic.
Yes, I think that's an item that we can consider, and, yes,
Thank you.
sorry, I keep.
That's all right. Okay, moving on to public comments.
No public comments received?
Okay, we can move on to ad hoc committee report out. I can say that the community, what are we calling it? Public Trust and Engagement Ad hoc did meet twice since our last meeting. One was but they were both in person, and if any of our commissioners on that ad hoc want to add anything, I know we didn't really discuss
Sure.
report out. Okay.
The first meeting was held at Starbucks on Blue Rock, and it went very well. We got a lot done. Then we met again for the second time. I believe it was last week. I can't remember the date. It was on a Tuesday, right? We met at the conference room at the police department. And Chief Vigil and Lieutenant Fancher was present, along with our consultant, Manji was present, and we accomplished a lot. And one of my duties was to come up with a list of churches who would be interested in getting involved in community engagement. And I came up with a lot of churches here. I think it was more than 10 here in the city of Antioch. So I believe we are moving in the right direction.
Thank you for the report out. We were just going to designate one person each meeting to report out, so I think that's what I'm going to go. You can take, the policy.
Just real briefly,
Your mic.
yeah, we meet once a week on Thursdays, and this past week we met, and the week before, since we didn't have a commission meeting. And we completed policy 303 and 304, which 303 is handcuffing and restraints, 304 is control devices and techniques. We're still working on policy 300, but we almost gotten through that, and that's use of force. And like I said, a lot of good has come out of these meetings. Afterwards, we talked about, just amongst ourselves with the ad hoc committee, we've been dealing with the APD website. We put in some more recommendations for that, which was to have the DOJ agreement added to our webpage, and a link to internal affairs so complaints and compliments can be done. And then I think that's about it. So, thank you. Anything else you want to add on there, or is that sufficient?
No, that covered it.
Okay.
And then Commissioner Mitchell, you said you weren't able to meet yet with your ad hoc?
I belong to two ad hocs, and one is the commission readiness, and the other is the budget. We have not met yet on the budget. We did meet 2 times on the commission readiness, and I think they were extremely productive meetings. We're strategizing on who's doing what and trying to reach out to people that can guide us and summarize things so that we can present to council or a commission in a format that makes sense, and maybe even, chronological order of certain trainings, so that, you lay a foundation, build on the foundation with other appropriate trainings and so forth. So we've split up, a lot of great dialogue, back and forth, debate on things. It's been really, really productive. There's one thing that we're trying to accomplish now, is a methodology where we're getting suggestions from the police department on certain trainings, but there are going to be other agencies, counselors of sorts, different sources for training. And so we'd like to work real closely with the chief and whomever he would designate to try to organize the trainings to be presented to the commission in a way that makes sense, incorporating the other trainings that we have to do, so we can run like a smooth business as much as possible.
Thank you for that. I did want to add that in our community public trust and engagement ad hoc, we did talk about some building off of some existing events going on in the community, like Neighborhood Watch, and building on maybe coffee with the cops, pizza with the cops, just things like that already exist, but we want to build on them and probably expand it to have more frequently. Also, we mentioned that National Night Out is August 5th, and we wanted to make sure that commissioners were able to attend events, which we should be getting a list of in the near future, so we can all attend those spread out throughout the city, or we can all go to one and then another and together, however we want to do it. So I just want to add that.
And one other just date, and Chief Vigil may have this for us also, because I didn't get the one email with the whole list, but the NACOL conference is the 26th to the 30th of October in Minneapolis.
City Manager Mike.
I didn't get an email.
What?
Sorry, Chief Behold, I didn't get the email.
Neither did I.
I got an original email, but not one with a whole list of training options.
Yeah,
We're gonna give them a hard time now.
yeah, I haven't gotten anything.
Good evening again. Yeah, the emails for the conferences haven't went out yet, just department training. So we have one next Friday, I have to look at my list. I think, Mr. Mitchell, I sent you one. Miss Haddon, and I think, Mr. Williams, I sent you one.
I'll
If
double
not,
check.
it's for a training in Oakland. Let me recheck my email while I'm sitting back
What's
there.
that date?
It's for next Friday.
The
So
18th?
keep in mind, because of Brown Act's violations, we can't send all of you to the same training at the same time.
Right.
Well, the city attorney has indicated that if we're going somewhere outside of Antioch and we're not discussing items that we're going to vote on, that it's not out of the question for us to go in more than groups of 3.
Right, next Friday's training's in the city of Antioch, in a city building.
Okay.
I indicated that if we're not asking questions, if we do have questions during the course of that training, that we should hold that, provide it to you, and then you can answer us in this forum. If more than 3 are at
Yeah.
a training, if we go 4 or 5 or 7, all of us, we just have to stick to that
Mhm.
and ensure that any of our questions that we ask, we send it to you or whomever's conducting the training, and then the responses to us can't come in that forum. It has to come, this is according to the city attorney, right? It has to come to this body with the
Right.
answers.
I understand that.
But we just got,
Next Friday's training, it's an interactive, discussion-based training.
Oh,
We just want to make sure there's no issues and no crossover. So that's why we only sent the invite to 3 of you.
Yeah, and then the other trainings that we have are very cost intensive. And so it requires travel, hotel, so we just can't send everyone. I think there's 3 out-of-state trainings coming up in the next 6 months. And so we've broken you down by your subject areas, ad hocs, just different considerations. So it's NACOL in Minneapolis, which 2 of you will go to. It's the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, which a few of you will go to. And then it's the Association of Inspector General, which a few of you who are doing policy will go to. So I believe that's New York, Minneapolis, and Miami. So we will send those emails out according to the subject areas.
Because also what we don't want to do is eat the budget up in like 4 months.
Yeah.
This is the training budget is not only for APOC, but for the CLO division of the police department as well. And they have to go to all the trainings. So what we're trying to do is space it out, very much like the city manager said, send you to the training specific to your ad hocs and overall what we think would benefit all of you together collectively, and send you out that way. Because again, the budget is only good for the next year, and we don't want to get halfway through the year and hey, the budget's gone, because we are only looking, the conferences that are out now are only 3 conferences for the next 6 months. It doesn't include any of the conferences for the first 6 months of 2026, which are all still in this budget.
What are those conferences again that's out in the next 6 months? And then what are the dates?
We'll send you the information. It's
Oh,
a
you don't
lot
have
too.
one, it's a lot.
And then, and it's, the chief and I are very intentional about making sure everybody's going out and to bring back the information. So no one's left out unless you're unable to travel on those specific days, which that means you just get to the next 6 months for something else.
Yeah, and part of that conversation when we start sending the emails out is if you cannot go, we try to find another member on the panel who can go in your place. So we'll always have people going in attendance at conferences, in attendance at trainings, so you guys can bring back the knowledge.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Viejo.
Welcome.
Okay, upcoming.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just
Commissioner Kennedy.
Going back, there was something in the ordinance regarding sexual harassment training, ethics, et cetera, et cetera. When are there ways we can take that when other city employees take it? Because I
Yes.
know,
Yeah, so we're working with our HR department to figure out how to standardize trainings across all boards and commissions, along with the city attorney and city clerk's office. So I think just because we've been focused on the budget for so long, we're behind in our operations. So we'll get some of that information out to you as soon as we can.
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy, is that all? Your mic is still on, so your mic is still on. I don't know if you want to add anything. Okay. Okay, upcoming future agenda items. Any suggestions from the commission?
just one thought, in light of the fire that we had a couple of weeks ago, over off of James Donlin, Black Diamond Mines, looking at the incidents in Texas right now, if at some point we could get a presentation on our emergency preparedness or our emergency response, I think that would be helpful for the commission, but also helpful for the public.
No, yes, definitely. And the city contracts out with an individual who does OES training. We also plan on sending 2 or 3 of you to Oakland next month for, I can't remember the name of it, through Bay Area, UWASI, Community Resilience Training and Natural Disasters.
Great. Well, I have a little background in this because my day job, we ran a campaign for like 7 months about how to be prepared, we canvass neighborhoods, talk to our neighbors about what it means to leave your house in 10 minutes or less. Do you have a go back prepared? Things like that. So, yeah, I think that's a really important presentation to have, and I can also give you some information on the Ready Rep program that we launched last year. So if you want to take a look at that, let me know.
Perfect. And I believe you and your group did flyers in
Yes, we
different
did.
areas of the community last year.
Yep.
So no, perfect.
Yep. Great. Commissioner Lacey.
I would just like to add, well, I would like to see if it's possible to have agendized an update regarding the police-involved shooting on Monday, June 30th. I know that there's only so much information that we can get right now, but I'm gonna piggyback on what Commissioner Kennedy said. It will be beneficial to the commission and also to the public. You know, because we only know what we hear through the media. So if APD can give us an update on how that investigation is going right now, it would be very beneficial. And if we can, I understand.
City Manager or Consultant Editon, did you want to add anything to that? Okay. Okay, so I guess we'll get information as it comes. Yeah. Okay, so we can not put that on the agenda for now. It's just since there's no information out to really discuss. Commissioner Eligwachi, Commissioner Mitchell, anything you have in mind? I was thinking maybe we can do like an update on our meetings with Lexipol, like what we've covered, and no, I mean like a presentation maybe of like what suggestions have been made so far on like the policies that we've worked on. I don't know if that's going to be easy to do, so maybe hold off for now until we get it complete.
Yeah, so what we can do is
'Cause I know-
talk about, I have the chief talk about the process, and maybe have our consultant talk about his role in it. I know he's joined your meetings as well, and so we can put a pin in it, but it wouldn't be a list by list.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also have a REACH presentation coming up in August 4th, as well as your Bridge the Gap Community Engagement Report presentation, and some more items. Another item from your 6 areas will be on. So your agenda is pretty full
Pretty
for
full, yeah.
August.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to make sure we weren't adding too much.
Oh, no, it's, you can, and also too, it's a running list, so you don't have to have for each meeting. Some are gonna spill over to future meetings.
Yeah. And I just figured because, you know, the commissioners that aren't in those meetings probably want an update, but we can put a pin in it. Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's move on to Antioch Police Oversight Commissioner's report out, and that's 3 minutes. So for the ad hoc. But this is like is that, yeah. Anything that you, right. I just said National Night Out, August 5th. That'll be the big one.
Thank you to all of the officers and to Manjeet for being here tonight and listening to everything and absorbing it all.
Mike? Oh, that's okay.
If anyone has gone to that farmer's market, I think that's a big success. It's great. And stay away from the kettle corn. You'll eat way too much.
Noted.
I know, it's crazy, but very successful. And I know we haven't met since Juneteenth, but Juneteenth was a resounding success as well. And it seemed like it was so kid-friendly. I saw a lot of you guys out there, heavy police presence, which was very positive in a positive way. Right? A lot of city council, APOC, we were all out there, and people were, I don't know, it just seemed so organized and well-planned.
Yeah,
So
I
I was
agree.
happy with it.
Yeah, that was a great event.
Well, I would like to say that I was out of town and I was able to connect with some people, and we all went to the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. It was a life-changing experience. It always has been each time I go there, because they have a section about policing in America, and that was very touching to me. But on July 4th, my family and I, we celebrated, and then when we got done, we went to the fireworks show, and we sat right here in front of City Hall. And there were quite a few officers out there, very young officers, probably young enough to be my sons, but I enjoyed that atmosphere. Everyone was friendly and kind, and my granddaughter was with me, and a gentleman offered her some type of glasses, I guess, so she can see the fireworks clearly. So I commend everyone who played a part in that, and I look forward to it again on next year.
Okay. All right, I think that's all the commissioner report outs. Staff communications, none. Okay, it looks like our next meeting is August 4th at 6:30 here at City Hall. And can I get a motion to adjourn? Okay, don't rush now.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second by, a motion made by Commissioner Mitchell, seconded by Lacey Oha. Please cast your votes. Okay. All right,
Motion to adjourn at 8:25 PM passes 5-0.
all right, thank you, Ms. Garcia.